Hey everybody. Hey everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Gail. Here's Nancy Jean. Thanks for showing up, everybody. So glad to see you. Let's see who's here. We got White Dragon. There's Susie. Susie's in the background. She'll be monitoring the chat, everybody. Thanks, Susie. Emerald Buddha. Um, let's see who else is here. I saw some other names. Cece, Spirit Watcher Suzanne, Ingla. Hey, everybody, Deep Albuquerque. Thanks for joining us today. We got a great show that we're going to be doing today, and it's going to be about ETs, elementals, the inner earth beings. And of course, Nancy Jean's becoming the expert on the elementals and the dragons. And
not willingly. They keep waking me up and telling me.
not knowing. Hey, Carmela. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And Butterfly Kisses. Hi. And thanks for putting the information in the chat for us, too. Dream Journey 1, Prince Charming's mom. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we've got so much information to give you. Both Nancy Jean and I went to bed last night with the intentions to ask how the inner earth beings, which are the ETs that are living here on Earth, and they're in the mountains, mostly in the mountains, or in the water, the oceans. The ones that are living here, we went the intentions of finding out the information, the connection between the elementals and the inner earth beings. That's what I call them, inner earth beings that are here. And I had the door slammed shut on me. I went up to the door, knocked on it. I had a whole bunch of people behind me, and they opened the door and they said, "You're not ready yet," and slammed it. So I don't know what the connection is, but I feel there's a big connection, and I do think the ley lines are involved. But Nancy Jean, you talk about your experience.
Okay. First of all, I pulled a card for us just because we were chit-chatting. And this is from Kyle Gray's new Raise Your Vibrations. This is a wonderful oracle card deck. And the You Are Not Alone. And that was so good for me because what it says is everything in the entire universe is connected. You are connected with your angels, your ancestors, your current loved ones, even future generations. You are not alone. Today, the universe is reminding you that even when you feel alone, there's a lot more support out there for you to have. The spiritual path is a soul path. You don't have to figure anything out. You just have to be and be open. You don't have to hide from your weaknesses. Just work through them. When this card comes to you, you are being guided to open up a welcoming help to others, either by accepting it or to help others who need to accept and hear. In fact, when you refuse support on a human level, there's a good chance that you will be building up resistance and not following a spiritual path. And the vibe for the day when you pull this card is I open up to help and to support on all levels. And that's really that you are not alone is so important to me because I went through a thing where I was awake, I was conscious, I was sitting in this chair, and I was thinking about my whole life path and how I got to understanding and knowing things. And this is when right before the dragon showed up, which I, anyway, I realized I was sitting here and all of a sudden I saw like a whole universe floating out in front of me, and I was connected to it with light. And that's the first thought that came to me, that came through my mind, is you are not alone. And I had spent a lot of my life feeling very isolated and alone because I am a little weird, but I just, I just don't see the world the way other people see it. And I'm like, why would you say that? And I spent a lot of time being judgmental and listening to that stuff. And I got very clear in that one day, I have never felt alone again. I've never felt any fear again. Once you get to that point where you understand how you click into the universe, it's great. And one of the things that we need to be doing, especially right now when so much stuff's kind of up in the air, is to take time to like go out and look at clouds. If you live in a very cold place, get one of those screensavers that puts clouds on your screen. I mean, whatever it takes. But go out and look at clouds and daydream and see things in the clouds, because a lot of times the impressions and the things I finally understand that I know is because I was just sitting quietly. So I um, really appreciated seeing that card. I'm so excited, and I really like this deck. And if you want to know, this is the book. It's Raise Your Vibrations Oracle,
Yeah, I'm gonna
and
get that book.
his
I mean, that
his
that card.
interpretations are really spot on. They're very positive. Kyle's got a whole. He actually gives away, if you join, if you go to his website, he gives away a lot of lessons. And he had a 2-week thing of raising your vibration, and he had stuff for you to do every day. It's very interesting, and it's not long. It's not going to take your whole life, but it's kind of fun. Um,
Well, I was gonna say that talking about the fear and everything. What was it? Night before last, I had an ET, a great ET, show up, and I was seeing his chest up and his head, and I asked him his name, and I forgot his name right now, but I did write it down. But I asked him if he was a gray or if he was a robot of some kind, and he told me he was both. He was connected, but he said my message was is have no fear. That's all he had to say to me. Have no fear, and I'm going. I felt like I'm pretty out there.
mhm.
But so that was kind of strange for me that he gave me that message, have no fear. So I have a feeling that's probably something that's coming up ahead of me that I'm not to have any fear about. So I think I might be, that fear factor might be challenged on me here soon.
Well, it's keeping your heart open and realizing you're not alone, and looking for what is the good part of the message for you. So, when I put my intention out last night, uh, a la Dr. Gail and I having a late night chat, um,
Another one.
another one. I've done a lot. My friend's name, my dragon friend, is Cecil, and I don't have a picture of him up set up to put on, but he's really cool. If you go to my Facebook site, the logo on my Facebook site, and you have to go to my personal Facebook site. My name is Nancy Lloyd, but don't tell any people that have a Q near their name. I don't want them near. Um, anyway, a couple things have come to light. Well, first of all, I've really got an understanding of, if you look at how legends are created, at what we call legends, that if you follow the progression of the stereotype of the dragon across all the cultures, you see which cultures are less ego bound. And the reason that the elementals told me they had to go underground, and that's why we're talking about this inner earth stuff, and that's where I ran into them. When my dragon took me there, we went into, it looked like a hole in the ocean, and we dived right in it, and I thought, well, this is kind of odd. And not that riding around on a dragon isn't odd to begin with, but when we got down there, he let me go, and there I was with all these unicorns and fairies and gnomes and elves and all the stuff, and that began them telling me, you have to work with us. And so I went to their party and watched them dance and watched them do the different rituals had going on, and I said, great. And then I woke up the next day back in my own bed where I was supposed to be, and I remember him and I leaving, but then the next thing I knew, I was home. And I sat down and I recorded on my phone, which I can almost do automatically in my sleep, and told it what I'd seen. So then 2 days later, I wake up and there's Cecil, and he said, we have to go back. And I'm like, okay. And I had not gotten the message straight. So they called me back, and this time they weren't dressed for a party. They were dressed in their regalia, that says, I'm the ruler of this, and I'm the one of this. I'm the exemplar. And they explained to me that I had to remind people that we need to have rituals in our lives, and we need to become conscious of the rituals we bring into our lives, because that's how humanity's going to survive, and that they're coming soon. And I said, how come I can see you? And I mean, it was like standing in a movie set with people in costumes. And they said, because your vibrations have gotten to this point and you work with stones. And last night, what they told me is that I kind of got the dragons down and I've written it out. Eventually, I'll put this out where people can read it too. But now I'm going to be working with fairies, gnomes, and elves. And I did a lot of research on that with Findhorn, which is a place in England that works with the elemental energies on how to raise crops. But they told me that we need to connect with them now because we need their energy. And it's all well and good that we have the ETs that are the ones that are coming from off planet, the ones that have been here so long, but that we need to connect with the elementals that are of their species because they're born of the earth like we are. Um, the elementals went underground when when humans became so immersed in their egos, and that had a lot to do with when we really moved into cities. But then last night they talked to me. I was talking to some elves and gnomes, and they were saying, "We worked with you in Atlantis." And I have had a couple of Akashic Records people tell me that I was a big whoop with crystals in Atlantis, which is why I ended up being a big whoop with crystals here. And I'm like, really? Oh. And I mean, and after that, I had a bunch of people send me books on Atlantis, and I was reading them, and I go, this all sounds very familiar. But
Well,
they said, we're going
the
to.
inner, well, the inner Earth beings say that they went in Earth because they can control the climate. Why would they expose themselves out here when they can control
Right.
utopia inside a mountain or inside the water or whatever? That's why they're not on top of Earth.
Right. And so the gnomes they're going to guide our thinking. As more people get to see them, they're going to guide our thinking and help us learn how to use what we've already known how to do. And so and then that we're going to need them as a second source of energy and energetic input in order to function. But they said the other thing they're going to come out and teach us how to do, and this has to do with the rituals, they're going to teach us how to play. They said humanity has lost its ability to play and really enjoy things. And so I was talking to them, and of course, I tend to see them in what this life's conscious mind knows, which is my grandparents both came over from Ireland, and I could go actually right now and become an Irish citizen. And I have people saying, why aren't you leaving? I also could I have dual citizenship with Canada, but I don't believe in just in abandoning what we need to work on. But so my mind frame, in order to understand and see them and be clear with them, is to see them from the perspective that is already built into my consciousness. And they said, but you have to understand that I'm going to have to study more of the Fae. They call them F-A-E, the Fae. That's another word for fairies. The Fae, and how it developed differently in different cultures. Like Germany has one thing, and French had a different kind of fairy tales that came in. And you can find all sorts of images about them, but that's where I'm working on now. And I will have a much clearer explanation, kind of like I already have a picture of how the dragons work. I'm going to have to look at other cultures. But one of the things that happened was because of the Romantic period and how much it affected, and Britain had such an effect around the world, a lot of the basic legends from other people have gotten lost or they're not adequately recorded. So that's my big thing to do now.
Well, I was just going to talk about a little bit of my exposure to the elementals. And my exposure to the elementals are the gnomes and the fairies. And the gnomes are, as I have said before, are the noisiest bunch and pushiest bunch I've ever experienced. And they came in one night and woke me up. They were loud, and they were just telling me to connect with Earth. And then the next time they came, they wanted me to work with them. So I had to go out and work with them and connect the stars to the trees in Peru and Alaska. And Johan is the one we know that works with the ley lines in South Africa. And I kept going, where is Johan? It turns out he's on maternity leave with his new baby. So I guess I was the one they sent out there to do that. And the fairies, I connect to them when I'm out in nature, which I like to go in nature right now. It's snowing. The fairies. So But anyway, that's my connection. My connection to them. I'm more connected. Well, I'm now connected to both, but I am definitely connected to the ETs also. And my curiosity was about the connection between the two. I wanted to know how the elementals and the ETs, especially the inner Earth, which are the
Mhm.
ETs that are here on Earth, how they work together. And just recently, I sent a show from Gaia to Nancy Jean the other day
Mhm.
about what was her name? She was a witch that dealt with the elemental.
Sherry Crow.
Sherry Crow,
Sherry
and she's
Crow.
on Gaia, and she was talking about how they move was on the ley lines. That's how all the elementals move, and I know the ETs do too. So I just thought that interesting, that connection there too. So you want to talk a little bit more about that part of it, the ley lines?
Yeah, the ley lines are earth energies, and it's like a big, and it's not like a line on the ground. It's like a line above. It comes out of the earth. And what happened uh, when I went to see that, when they took me to their place in the inner earth, they wanted me to do a show in connection with the solstice the equinox that we just went through. And because on the equinox and on the solstice, ley lines get straight. And ley lines were ley lines build up over time with earth energies, and they're really, really well followed and well tracked in England. They're not so much here. But they are a way that energy moves around the earth, and part of fixing the ley lines, they can get off from where they should be. And there are people like Dr. Gail and Johan who straighten them out or reconnect them to the stars. They're actually connected to certain stars in the universe. And they keep the lines from getting completely disorderly. And they didn't know that the lines moved. There was some geobiologist. The guy was a geologist, and then he found out that there's this sort of living force on the planet. He started moving. He started tracking one that was right by his house. He went out the same time every day, walked his dog, took his little dowsing rods with him, and found the ley lines. And he found out they were moving, that they were actually wiggling, somewhat like tides do to the moon, and that and they were measuring how wide they were. He's a whole bunch of people. The ley entities use the ley lines to travel, but his name is Rory Duff. You can find him on the internet. You can find him on YouTube. Don't listen to a certain reader we know in California who says he's the most boring person he's
I
ever
was going
seen.
to say, yeah, be sure you have some coffee or caffeine, because,
Yeah.
or if you need some sleep, put him on.
Yeah, well, he's a little pedantic, but my husband was British, so I was used to how he speaks. Anyway,
Boring, slow.
but he's talking about incredibly interesting stuff. So this woman, she's a Wiccan.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a Wiccan. She's from New England, and she's been a Wiccan all her life, and she's run parts of their county. She's been an elected official, and she just tells people, I'm a Wiccan and I do this stuff and I work with nature's energies. And one of the things she was talking about was how ley lines and stuff work with the elementals. She also works clearly with certain elementals. She has sort of a way to program and work with them. And one of the things the elementals want us to do is for more of us to think about working with them, because their energy comes from this planet. And the people that Dr. Gail's talking about that are also inside the planet, they probably came in with Lemuria or in Atlantis's time, and their energy went there. And that's why the elementals say you just can't trust what comes from the stars. You have to work with us too. They have a better understanding of Gaia because it's what they know. It's where they are. So yeah, that woman was fascinating, and I'm going to look up some more stuff on her. But
well, why don't we start taking some questions? We have quite a few.
Okay.
We have quite a few questions. So there were three. Nancy Jean put an announcement out, and three people did put some questions in. So we're going to take those first. And so, Susie, you can go ahead and put up that first question. Oh, Dr. Gail, do ETs protect us from our own folly with regards to nuclear war? Yes. I can't go into a lot of details on that, but all I can say is yes, definitely. So anyway, okay, next question. What were my experiences with Fae and fairies? Well, I guess we've been talking about that, both of us. So I guess we kind of already covered that one.
Yeah, thing is, you will feel them around you. I have a magnificent guide named Addie, and I didn't bother to get to know her name till I was 69. So, I mean, I'm real arrogant about this stuff, but you can feel them next to you. And if you go out, I have a friend who's a animal whisperer, and if you're really good with animals, you've got the fae, you've got the gnomes, the elves, and the fairies around you because they go hand in hand with people who are magnificent with animals.
Yeah, well, I'm real connected to the birds, so that's definitely fairy energy, also. So, okay, next. How will organized religion react when the ETs reveal themselves? Well, that isn't that a big can of worms to open. Um, well, we can't predict how they will react, but I do think it will kind of blow it up. But then I think the people who will be putting blinders on, so I think it'll go either way. Some people will accept it and they'll change their views. And also, our big religious leaders already know they exist. They're already working with them. So, yeah, and I think they already know how they're going to handle it when they do show themselves. So I think the religious leaders are prepared for it. And I do think it'll just be individual on how you accept it, or it'll be an individual thing on how it goes.
Well, with regards to fairies, one of the reasons that we're able to see the elementals more now is because our vibrations have gotten higher, and they don't reveal themselves to people that don't have a certain level of vibration. They may try to help them or be around them, but you have to kind of reach out and want to touch them. And so those folks will go the other way. And the other thing I told when Dr. Gail and I discussed this question, when the Catholic Church moved to Ireland and the Irish as a culture, the Celtic culture had an extremely rich interaction with the elementals. The Catholic Church immediately decided they were all fallen angels. So, I mean, we kind of can predict if we look at history what these guys are going to say. So,
yeah. So, okay, well, let's go ahead into the chat and see what the questions are there. All right, what's next? Hey, CC, why do some aliens and elementals have colors I can't see? Well, I'm not sure about it. Is that you can't see the colors as much as how you okay. Yeah, Cece, I don't know. They present themselves in the colors that you can identify with. Some people are really good with colors, and some people just see everything mainly in white, or they don't even see anything. They're just feeling the vibration or being around them. So I don't think that's something wrong with you. I just think that's how it's presented to you or how you accept it, probably. All right.
Yeah, and when I saw them in the cave, they wanted me to see them. So they were just as much as if I was to walk up and talk to you and meet you. I mean, they were there. And but when they're around me on this part of the earth, or a friend of mine who's an animal whisperer, she senses them, but she doesn't see them.
Right.
So, and they may have colors you can't see. It may be outside of our visual spectrum. So.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. When I go on the Arcturian spaceship, I know there's colors I'm not seeing on that. I'm only seeing the blues and the purples. And I know that's just because of me, what I can see. But yeah, the gnomes, when they presented themselves to me, they were in the trees, but they were, I could see the colors of them, but it was almost like I could see through them, like they were translucent. And the fairies haven't physically shown themselves to me yet. I just see them. When I'm going out, they start waving the trees and bushes around me. When I'm start talking to them, you're saying hello. So it's only the gnomes I've seen, but ETs, all the ETs I've seen, and it is just like Nancy Jean says, they're right there with you. I mean, yeah, it's like, and it's hard to explain that to a lot of people, that when you're in that situation, you can't tell. I mean, it's like they're physically there. It's hard to explain that, I think. So can you explain to Nancy Jean or is anybody? I mean, because I'm asked that question all the time. Do you really see them? And I'm going, yeah. It feels like they're sitting right next to me.
Well,
And,
when I have them in a vision form, yes. Otherwise, they just talk through my head.
right.
And as I always point out to people, they used to give you pills for that. But and that's what those people were seeing. You know, in ancient Greece, people who had a lot of downloads and things coming through them, they were honored and considered valuable because they knew they were speaking to at a level we don't see.
Well, also, I'm going back and forth between 5D and 3D all the time. It's hard for a lot of times to differentiate them too, whether I can do both at the same time, actually. So, and I've developed that along this journey. So it is a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier for me to do that now. And anyway, okay, next question. Oh, CC, they are dark gray, but so vibrant that I know there are other colors. Um,
I'm going to break into a song, Kodachrome. You know, you need to get the right kind of film. I think it's just a matter of
yeah,
where you are in your development to see it, and ask them. Just ask them, why are you looking gray, and see if they pop in with color.
yeah. Well, while they're looking dark gray, that might be what they want to show you is dark gray. But that is pretty interesting, CC.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see all sorts of different colors. Okay. Oh, why did I encounter an assertive gnome in a gray color? Oh my gosh, assertive gnomes. The ones
That's
I
what they are.
encountered was extremely assertive. I mean, they were loud. They woke me up. I mean, I sat right up out of bed. So my encounters with the gnomes, they are assertive and they are loud. So I'm thinking since you've encountered that also, I'm thinking that just might be how they are a
They,
loud
when
bunch.
I talk with them, it's a little like talking to an old character from a 1930s gangster movie. Hey, girlie, we're gonna do this, you know. And
So,
that's probably because of the impressions I have from what I was raised with. But
yeah. Well, they didn't sound like that to me, but they are loud,
mm-hmm,
loud, and pushy. So,
mm-hmm,
but anyway, that's interesting, Cece, that you're having the same kind of encounter.
mm-hmm.
Okay, next. Hey, Spirit Watcher Suzanne, is the crystalline grid of Mother Earth the same as the ley lines? You
A
take that.
lot of it is, and um, but there's also ley lines under the ocean. I mean, they run. It's a whole network, and I have been told that it's the whales and the dolphins that take care of the ley lines in the ocean.
Oh, that would make sense. That's what
Hmm.
I'm exposed to the most, and they're also the ones that are on the aero aquatics. I see them flying in spaceships,
Hmm.
so that would make sense. Yeah. Okay, there you go, Spirit Watcher Suzanne. Next. Hey, White Dragon. I've mostly dealt with gnomes and even spoke to Pele, the Hawaiian fire goddess. I think it's how you say it, Pele. She told me what we were a fiery salamander element. Oh, you sent the picture to me. Yes, she told me she was a fiery salamander elemental. It seems like a lot of people have exposure to that one, the salamander elemental. Um, I
It,
haven't yet, but I think you have, Nancy Jean, haven't you?
yeah, they're all over the King of Wands coat in the original
Oh,
Rider Waite deck,
it is. Yeah,
because the fire is the thing that motivates you and reaches into your past and pushes you into your future. Yeah, and it is the salamander that is their symbol.
yeah. That would kind of make sense. Fire energy.
Hmm.
Okay, next, Dream Journey One. Would the Fae voices sound like high pitched sound like a cassette tape off forward or rewind, or would that be the ETs? Well, that could be any of them. Dream Journey One. That's just how you're hearing it. I'm not so sure that anybody else or maybe some other people would hear it the same way, but that could be either. That could either be the ETs or um, the elementals. Do you have anything to say to that? Nancy Jean?
I think it's a lot like when they go ghost hunting and they get voices and they get those, and then they say, "Didn't you hear it say this?" And I'm like, "No." It's because it's from another dimension and it's not geared to our hearing. And I have a slight bit of tinnitus. That's an artifact from some surgery I had about 5 years ago. And, so it kind of blocked out a lot of that stuff I used to hear. So maybe it's giving my ears a rest instead of making them be on all the time. But it does sound, the thing is, you've got to understand that you have control over your connection to the other side. You can ask them politely to please slow it down or make it clearer or give you a better image in your brain about what you want to see. I learned that when I was 17 and I'd run into a ghost and I never wanted to see a ghost again. And I went to a place that taught people about parapsychology and they said, it's your body, it's your life, it's your mind. You can control all of it by just not allowing those kinds of experiences in. So I consciously told my guides that I didn't want to do mediumship. I didn't want to talk to people on the other side. And I don't. Occasionally they break through, but for the most part, I don't.
Well, that's exactly what I said because I don't want to channel information with them jumping inside of me. That's my limit. I don't want them having a different voice coming out or I'm inside my body and I'm not sharing my body with them. But they can give me the information outside of my body all they want, but not in my body. But I will, past people who passed, I'm fine with all that. Ghost, yeah, I'm good with that. Just don't jump in my body.
Yep. It's my body. I'm here.
That's right. Okay, next. Okay. Well, Susie, you have any questions? She hadn't had a question. Okay. She's sitting there shaking her head. No, that was all the questions. All right. See, do you want to talk about anything else about the elementals or how about let's talk about your next projects?
Okay. Well, first I'm going to continue to be open to them and see what I can learn and see what I can translate in and try to find other people who have been exposed to it maybe longer and can give me some of their wisdom. The other thing I'm doing is on December 1st, I'm really excited. There's a guy named Tim Walter, who's from Britain, and he lives, I believe, up in New York. And he worked with a guy named Hamish Miller, who was sort of the dean of getting people into understanding earth energies and ley lines. And he actually teaches a course where he teaches people how to clean the energy out of their house and how to find ley lines and how to work with all this stuff. And he did a really interesting thing the other day where I was watching him and when you like where I sit regularly to work, this is all my stuff's around me here. So this is where I work. And there's a vortex of energy that's here. And, I need to watch for it and make sure it stays clean and all that stuff. But he was talking about in his house, he'd had his office in a different place. And when he moved it, he had to go over and connect with the vortex that his energy had been creating all that time and walk it across the house and move it to his new desk. And he just talks about things using energy in practical ways that I realize some of it I just did instinctively, but I really think it's fascinating. So you can go in your house, and if you have a crappy ley line, and there are ley lines that are wrong, I mean, they're misadjusted, he teaches people how to work with them and adjust them or direct them outside of the house. You don't want a negative ley line in your house.
What's their name? What's his name again?
Jim Walter. Tim, Tim, Tim Walter.
Okay.
And he's going to be on my show December 1st. I'm going to have a couple of announcements before. I'm really interested to sit. I've watched a lot of his stuff. I've watched a lot of he was learned from Hamish Miller, who's no longer with us, except he is, but he's not like here. And he really talks about some really interesting things I was told that I had to learn about ley lines because in
Why
2025,
why did they send you to the star and connect it to the roots? I was
because
just kind of
I don't leave this planet. I mean, we know about this, Dr. Gail. I don't leave this planet. I got assigned to come back here and work for so many different lifetimes on this planet. It's where I am. I am happy. I do not want to really, I don't want to go there.
it took me it caught me off guard because I'm in charge of a spaceship, and here I am, the one having to go out and um, go hook the stars to the ley lines in Peru and Alaska. They haven't bothered me since then, but I'm just going, where's Johan? When's he come back to work?
His baby's not due till February. But the other part is that I was thinking about this last night just before I went into my intentions list. And Dr. Gail and I actually live in two very different realms, but we keep our information we're getting keeps colliding. I have elementals that are in the inner earth. She has alien that were originally ETs from another place that have lived here for a long time. They've been here so long that we're the travelers, the ones who've been born and living human lives.
Yeah, they look at us as the aliens that live on top of Earth. Yeah, that's how they look at us. Or I should say, I can go further than that. We are the bag of water that lives on top of the Earth. That's how they look at us.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
And Gina, what you can do is give them okay. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't see until I told you that experience I had about that my card was like, you're not alone, that we are all really connected. When you connect into that feeling in the universe and you can wake up every day and understand you're not alone, and not feel isolated from other people, that's when you'll be able to better connect with the other energies. It happened to me in the early summer. And I don't know why. I don't know what was going on that day. I never even bothered to look at my chart and see if anything was spectacular that day. But it's for each of us has to find our way to there. But it happens when you focus on where your energies are and what you need, what you know, and have confidence that you're not alone. You belong in this. It's like getting a big warm hug from a constellation. It's like you just feel. I used to look up at the stars and be just terrified. I thought that everything out there is so far away when I was a little kid in the 50s and 60s, and I don't feel that way anymore. I can go up and look out at the stars and I just think it's wonderful energy coming from there. So a lot of it's being able to figure out
Well, what I'm getting is that the big word I'm getting is quiet.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be quiet, and I don't think they're talking about what they're showing me is clutter in your brain, that you're just needing to be quiet. So you can take that, how they meant that, but that's what they're saying, quiet.
And meditation, the word meditation actually means to become familiar with. And I think we have to become familiar with ourselves on the inside and get it to be quiet. And I mean, COVID is a horrible thing and millions of people have died and all the rest of it. Yeah. But it certainly made my world get quiet fast.
Mine too.
In a way it would never have done. I would never have been in the same place. So that's just what I can tell you. And I'm not a person who teaches meditation, but I know Joe Dispenza teaches some really good stuff online, and the meditation movement does good things. And that's what I use at night to calm the world down for me, as I turn on a meditation and, go to sleep and wake up 8 hours later. So of course I don't have anybody else in my bed that would gripe about why are we listening to this again, but
I guess you'd have headphones on then. Okay. All right. Do you have any more questions?
There's another one down. Yep.
Okay. All right. Hey, White Dragon, understand the elementals are mid to high 4D in frequency. Is that correct? I think that is correct. But I have not asked them, but I think you're right. I think you're right, White Dragon. What do you think next, Jane?
Well, because of certain things that happened to me. I had some people work with me, and I went to my guides and said that I wanted peace, because switching me from 5D, where they were sending in information, and putting me back to 3D was affecting my heart. And they thought I was, matter of fact, they put me on a heart monitor. And then the doctor's office called about a week later, and they said, where are you in the middle of the night? And I said, here. And they went, no, your monitor went off for 2 hours. Were you recharging it? And it didn't show that you were recharging. So they ended up sending me another heart monitor and checking that one, and there was nothing wrong with it. My heart doctor knows that I'm a medium. Actually, his aunt is a medium in India. And he said, oh, you just went to one of those things. But so what, I've struck a deal with them, and they leave me in 4D most of the time. But I'm going to tell you guys, that's not all that much fun, because when you go back out in the real world, you have to put up some pretty strong shields to protect yourself and to take care of you, because it changes. You can't like just slim back and forth.
Yeah, which I do all the time. So
you got a better heart than I got, Dr. Gail.
yeah, I guess so, because I haven't. I don't know about it affecting me physically. It did in the beginning, because remember, in the beginning, I stayed sick on my stomach all the time, nauseated. Oh my gosh, it just really, really, really bothered me for months at a time. And but I don't get that now. Even when I get upgrades, and also during that time, I was falling all the time. I was falling, walking my dogs. I mean, it was really, increasing my vibration and all those downloads. That was rough.
Yeah, that's when you start to get that kind of dizzy stuff. Yeah. I'm actually working with a physical therapist, because I have 2 artificial knees, and so getting down, I don't get down. If I get down on the floor, I'm not getting up unless, the little firemen come or my kids come rescue me. And so I'm in a thing right now to try and learn how to stand up on my own again, which sounds really stupid at 73. Roanna Wolf is 70 today.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, lady. And you're in a new 9. That means you're in a 1 year. You're moving into a 1 year. Good for you, girl. It's a lot of fun being 70. I used to think, oh my God, when I'm from so long ago that there was a movie out, and it was that no one was going to live to be 40. And it ended up that they were taking their bodies and reusing the minerals from them. It's a gross movie. Anyway, so that we used to always say, we're never going to make it to 35 or 40. And now I'm twice that, and I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world. So have a good time. Go party like it's
1999.
Right.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. Hey, Susie, what do you think about the paranormal TV shows that has shown clips of fairies and unicorns? I haven't seen that.
I have. First of all, you're asking the right person. I used to be a film editor, and I understand how you can superimpose images. And I watched a couple things this morning because I hadn't seen them before. And some of them are so you can tell they're fake. I mean, if you know how to look at the images. But the ones that came out of Findhorn that were taken in the early 1900s, there are these 2 little girls who kept telling their families that they had these friends they were meeting on the hillside. If you can go find the British pictures of these little girls, I think they were really seeing them, because they were in an incredibly powerful spot in England to see them. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen a fairy and I've seen a unicorn, but I didn't have a camera with me at the time. So
well, there you go, Susie. I don't know much about it. Thank goodness she does. Okay. Next question. Hey, Prince Charming's mom. I just want to maintain the knowing that we're not alone. I had it for 2 weeks, about 2 weeks ago, and I want it back.
Yes.
Yeah, Prince Charming's mom. Oh, you go ahead, Nancy Jane. You're ready.
Well, when I fell into that great sense of peace, I kind of told my guides to help me remember it. And they do. I call on Frank and Addie. Addie is the guide who kind of runs things for me and has kept me safe. Trust me, I would never made it to 73 without her. But the other person that I have is Frank. And I was having some vision dreams about some of the corruption in government. And I wanted to go see what these Republicans were doing. They were getting these handfuls of gold and they were going down the hallway. And all of a sudden, Frank just stood in front of me and he said, "You can't see this. This isn't for you to know." And I said, "But I want to." And he said, "I've kept you safe from all this for all this time." For those of you who don't know it, I used to run political campaigns, not for Republicans, but I used to. And he said, "I kept you from falling into these bad habits." So my guides kind of, when I ask them to do that, they can do that. Prince Charming's mom, if you can go back and recall the memory, recall where you were sitting, recall what was going on around you that day, you'll be able to call it back in. Because the one thing I did learn is once you reach that point where you're not alone and you're connected, unless you really consciously want to do something, you're never disconnected. So it's so warm and overwhelming at first. I thought it was kind of fading away, but then every time I talk about it, I feel the warmth and the recognition coming back.
Yeah, I think it'll come back, Prince Charming's mom. It might be that they gave you some big upgrade or downloads and they're letting you just rest a minute. So I don't think you're alone, and I think it will be back. So, okay. All right, next. Oh, go ahead.
I've got a question, Gina M. If you want to contact me, my email is crystaldirections, and that's with an S, .nancyjean@gmail.com, and I answer all my emails. I do not have an assistant to help me with that stuff. So if you write to me there, or you can go to my website, which is crystaldirections.com, and you can see the kind of crystal grid work I do, some thoughts. I've got a folder in there that's resources, and it has prayers and different things that I've used through the years to protect me. So, and trust me, guys, don't go trotting around in the world we live in without protecting yourself, because there are creepy energies that you don't really want to run into.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I've got one of her eggs here that you can see. And this is a throat chakra egg, which is great because I use it all the time. I use it all the time on my healing show. And then I have her grid that she made me. And here's the grid that she made me. So there we go.
Super bright.
Yeah, super bright. And yes, I like bright colors. So anyway, all right, let's go to the next question. Hey, BJ, if humans get spooked by aliens popping up, what spooks aliens? Or are they used to seeing different looking beings unfazed? Well, they get spooked when I show up a lot of times because being human, it does spook them because they're so used to looking at humans down on the planet. So I do spook them, and they do get spooked by each other. And especially like if you're just like us, and we're a certain vibration, a different vibration, higher vibration comes down to them, they do get spooked. So the answer was yes, they spook them, and sometimes I spook them.
And one of the things I'll tell you about the elementals is they have more, they're not angels, okay? And I think angels do come from a different realm, and I think for the most part, they really have all kinds of wah, but fairies, and I know for sure dragons are a direct reflection of the ego that's looking at them. And I think that's probably going to find out that's going to be true for most of the other elementals. So if you go at them, it's just like humans. If you go at them with a bad mindset, that's what you're going to get thrown back in your face. But all the ones I've met have been very kind and gentle and keep saying, for a woman your age, you're a bit slow. But it's, and you have to understand that you're going to see things in the way some of what you were raised. I don't know if you guys saw the post I put out to announce this show, but it was something about letting your mind go so that you can blow your brains and learn.
great announcement. I thought it was great. But also, I feel like the energy is different from them. Like angels, the gnomes, I feel like they're kind of in the same energy. The ETs are a little higher energy. The angels are up there. But I feel the difference in their energies.
Right.
But I see them also. I feel the energy differences, but I do have the ability to see them. And I know not everybody can, but so I'm feeling and seeing at the same time the differences. So, all right, next question. Hey, Chromosome, how are y'all doing? I think the Findhorn fairies were real. We had fairies in our garden in Derbyshire, England. The house next to us was named Findhorn. Well, there you go.
Yep, it's a real thing. And I mean, these people took over this little patch of dirt ground that nobody could make anything grow in, and within 3 years they were growing 40-pound cabbages and having all kinds of stuff. And the whole way they did it was to connect to what the fairies were, the elementals that were there on the land were telling them to do to grow the stuff. And the people who originally did that, it started in the 60s, and it's still an ongoing thing over there. And they're actually, if you, I did a whole show on Findhorn, which I guess you can go back and find if you really don't have much to do with your life. But and I talked about all those aspects. But there's also, they have the Findhorn organization puts out a weekly newsletter with visions from the women who were originally part of all this and observations they have. And each state in the U.S. has someone who's been to Findhorn, learned their what they've learned. You got to realize that Findhorn is part of the UN. It's part of a group of people on alternate agriculture that's funded through the UN. So they're the real deal, and that's the sort of things that we're going to be learning how to do.
Okay, good. Okay, next question. Hey, White Dragon. Erwin Saunders, Brit Eccentric on YouTube, claims to have recorded fairy folks. Are you familiar? I'm not familiar.
No, I'm not familiar with him.
You don't know anything about him? Okay.
I'll look him up, though, because if he says he's doing that, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. I'm writing his name down, Erwin Saunders. Okay. All right, next. Hey, G. Covington, what crystal should be in your home for protection? There you go, Nancy.
Tourmaline. I have a big tourmaline. Okay, I actually have some really interesting tourmaline I could show you. This is
your watermelon tourmaline.
Yes.
Actually, I'm wearing watermelon tourmalines.
Yeah, it's beautiful in pink. But tourmaline can be all different kinds of colors, and sort of like obsidian, even though they all come out of volcanoes, what makes their color is the other elements that are in with them. I have a big piece of tourmaline about this wide and about that big around, and it sits, I got a keychain holder, when you come in and put your keys up the door, that it sits on, and it's a guardian stone to keep negative energy away from you. The other is what I do have is obsidian, which is a volcanic stone.
Well, there are obsidians all over the place here. You can just walk out the door and pick up the obsidian because
and obsidian, normally you'll see it, it's in a chip form like this. It's very, very sharp. So you have to be really careful when you're handling it. That's a wonderful protection stone. But obsidian, this is also obsidian. It's yellow.
Yeah, well, Susie was showing me, I think it was obsidian. Yeah, that was clear. Yeah,
it's blue. No, this one's green. This one's
she's
blue.
showing me. Well, I can see it, but I don't think anybody else can see it, Susie. You want to come on and show it?
And this is a dark blue. And this dark blue, if you have a lot of anxiety in your life,
like that.
This stone will really, it's a very, very helpful.
That's obsidian also?
Yep, those are all obsidian. I have never seen anything but black obsidian, and I knew there were other colors out there. And when I went to Denver this fall,
what's this though? Because this is obsidian. It started with an A. And I mean, it looks like it's clear like that, like the obsidians that you're showing me.
I think that may be another, somebody renamed a piece of obsidian. It has, the reason it's so clear is it has no crystalline structure inside. It's literally the earth made glass. I mean, that's what it is. And I did not realize how many different colors they could be until I was watching a show. And then 2 weeks later, I walked into a rock shop in Colorado and I said, "Do you have any obsidian?" She said, "Oh, we just got a whole bunch in." And she had all these colors laid out. And I was like, and
so, I mean, because I remember the name of the star with an A that he had, and he was saying these stones are real ET connected. So I don't remember.
well, there are stones they're called tektites, and those are stones that are made by action coming in from the stars. They're either carried in a peridot, or called olivine. It's green. If you've ever seen, there's a meteorites that they've found. They can, if they're not a metal meteorite, if they're a crystalline meteorite, it's almost 90% sure you're going to have olivine or peridot in it, and they slice it and it looks like just little bits of green glass in the stones. It's absolutely gorgeous. What color is that stone you were looking at, Dr. Gill?
The green one. I mean, it comes in all different colors. I just picked up the green one. That's what was calling me. Also, they're expensive, and so so that's why he had all different colors. There was a turquoise one he also had that I wanted, but I haven't gone back in there. I really try. I've spent too much money here in Mount Shasta on stones already. So
I know it's fatal for me. I'm just, I just can't go anywhere. I was just going to look up my computer's being contrary to on my phone right now. I have 2 different apps, and you can find them that are for identifying crystals, and you can like type in blue and crystalline, and it'll give you all the information you need.
All right, well, let's take one last question, and then we're going to be making our announcements on what's coming up on next on both our channels. So, Okay, Cece, how do I tell the mice stay out of my house?
You mean, I don't know a crystal that does that, but I have a perfectly marvelous cat who does.
My cat does too. I guess. In fact, I've offered to lend her to some people. How do I tell the mice stay out of my house? And that would be great if we had crystals that would do that.
And they don't have to feed them every night.
That's right. I wouldn't get my cat. I mean, my cat is great for getting rid of it. I never see bugs. I never see anything, critters. She takes care of all that. That's what cats are really good for. Okay.
What is that pink stone, Dr. Gail, called that you use? Watermelon tourmaline?
Yeah, it's this one. You tell me every time what the name of this is.
That's aura.
What do you call it? Is it a rose aura something? So that's what it is.
But that's not that's the color on that's manufactured, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay. It's something with something extra in there. I can't remember. I have to look it up. But it is. This is the first one when I kind of make Mount Shasta that I kept walking by it, and I finally went back and got it, and it kept calling me. And it is a very strong healing stone for me for people that I'm using Slayer's Healing Center show. Okay, well, Nancy Jean, talk about what's coming up for you this week and next week.
Okay, on Sunday, I have my 2 hours of politics that I do with Scott Allen, and he'll be in a good mood. His granddaughter was finally born, so you don't have to watch him worrying about that. And then Sunday afternoon at 3 Central Time, I'm going to be on Dozen Cats, Kelly's Tarot channel, and we're going to be doing past life readings. Really not as in depth. If you want a past life reading and want a really in-depth one, you can go to my website, www.crystaldirections.com, and it outlines the different kinds of readings I do, but that's it. But I will be on Sunday if you just want to see what past life readings are like, and we're going to talk about some of the theory behind them and how to use them. And then I don't think I'm thinking much past that. Danny and I did a show on cards and talked about different decks and how different images make you feel working with decks. And I think he and I are going to do that on Oracle decks too. That's one of my cats doing something.
Okay. All right. For me, I have 3 things coming up here. And oh, there it is. Thanks, Susie. Monday, I have the Solaris Healing Center, and that will be 12 Pacific time, 3 Eastern time. Tuesday, it's going to be Ann Perry, numerologist, and we will be, again, it'll be at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. And then Mary, of course, Mary will be here again too from the Rustic Raven. And we'll be talking about ETs then. And she's also at 12. So it'd be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for me next week. And it all is going to be 12 Pacific time and 3 o'clock Eastern time. So, yeah, I have 3 lives in a row. I'm not sure I've done that 3 days in a row, but I have got that next week. So, all right, everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just, and if you want to stay in touch with kind of where I'm going to be on other people's channel, just subscribe to my channel and you'll get my notices. And because I try to help them by spreading the word. And I'm getting perilously close to having 4,000 subscribers. And when I get to 4,000 subscribers, I'm going to have a very special drawing. But you're going to have to be a member. A subscriber, not a member, a subscriber.
Okay. All right, everybody, go over to Nancy Jean's channel, Nancy Jean's Garden, and subscribe so she can get to her 4,000. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see y'all later. Thanks, Susie. Thanks everybody, and thank you, Nancy Jean.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me come on.
All right. Bye-bye.